Okay, so Rose, you're from where?
I'm from a little dinky town called Athol, Idaho. A-T-H-O-L, Idaho.
So what brings you down to Dallas?
Oh, the Parental Alienation Symposium.
Okay.
And Jody Mueller.
So how did Jody reach out to you?
We met on Facebook.
Okay. So are you part of her Iowa Parental Alienation group, or?
Yes.
Okay, good. And so you flew down from Idaho for the symposium today. People don't just come to a symposium. There's got to be a story behind this.
Yes.
Tell me your story.
Well, in a nutshell, in 1989, my 3 children went to visit their father in California.
Okay.
And on an agreed visitation, extended visitation, that I was to pick them up when they got out of school. And when I went to go pick them up, I was presented a temporary order signed by a judge who's now dead. He committed suicide. That's another story on its own.
Right.
When he was being investigated through the San Francisco Judicial Performance.
So there probably was a little, okay, well, we won't go into that, but anyway, continue on with the story about the children.
Anyhow, so court hearings that were set were delayed. The fact that I lived in Idaho and he was in California, there were jurisdictional problems. When we would have finally a hearing that was set, he had an attorney who claimed it to be most of the time an undue burden to show up. So long story short, the Idaho hearings only became set in the court file and then dismissed. So I started having to actually find him. My ex-husband started moving to different places, and when I would locate him and the children, he would pick up and move again. And he went from Colusa, California to, I understand, Atwater, California. Okay. And then I found him in Jackson, California.
Okay. And so he was just trying to avoid going to court?
Yes.
Okay. And this was because of the children?
Yes, because it's called custodial interference when you take children against a court order.
Got it. Okay.
And in violation when you cross state lines, that's supposed to turn it into a little more serious felony. So
you're talking about, on the one hand, you're talking about kidnapping. Now in California, I don't quite understand the jurisdictional thing here, but in at least in some states, when you have interference with custodial visitation or whatever it's called, it's actually considered a criminal offense. Not that anybody enforces it.
Right.
Is that what you found out to be the case with you?
Yes.
So he kept the kids from you?
Yes. And when I found them in Jackson, California, that was in, I believe, 1991, then he worked. Well, we won't get into where he worked or anything like that, but he came to my house. I shared a house with a gal who used to be a police officer and her son, rented her room, and he came to the house and sat for 3.5 hours and said he was tired of running, didn't want to do that anymore, and did I want to see my 2 youngest come and did I want to come and watch them bowl that Saturday at Sutter Creek Bowling. And I said,
now how many years had gone by this time?
89 to 91 or 92, so 89 at that point, 90, 91, 92, about 3 at that point.
About 3 years, and now he's going to say, would you like to see them for 3 hours?
Right, well, would you like to come watch them bowl? Hey, it was a start. I said yes. I showed up at the bowling alley at 9 o'clock on that next Saturday, brought a friend so that I had a witness.
Right.
That's one thing
Very
you learn
important.
Yes, you learn real quick. Always take a witness.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so...
and a camera if you can as well.
And a camera if you can, or at least a recording device of some kind.
Yes.
Yes. So anyhow, we were there, and the kids started strolling in. Not my kids. And I turned to my friend and I said, I think he's done it again. And she said, what do you mean? I said, let's just wait. I don't, maybe they're just late. So, kids, I finally stopped a couple of them and asked if they knew Tim or Lisa, and they said, yeah. I said, well, where are they bowling at? I'm not sure which lane. She said, well, I don't think I've seen them today. And I said, here we go again. So I called his workplace and I asked for him, and there was a long pause, and the gal said he wasn't there, and I said, well, do you know where he's at? And she said, well, he's taken an extended vacation, leave of absence. And I said, when do you expect him to come back? She said, we don't know if he's coming back. And it's like, oh, great. I have no idea where to look.
Yeah.
At that point, I honestly thought he stopped running. And it was like, okay, cool. He wants to work. He wants to let the kids normalize.
Yeah.
He's seen the psychological reports. They say not only is this woman sane, but she's maternal, and that's why she's acting the way that she is.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
So am I taking it then that he was trying to portray you as something other than sane?
Oh, very much so.
Okay.
Oh, very much so. Crazy woman.
Yeah.
In a nutshell. Anyhow.
And how do you defend against that one?
That's why I had the paperwork.
Right.
In fact, I had gone to the extent to go speak with the Idaho governor prior to him being found in Jackson, California.
So you talked to the governor
of Idaho? Yeah. At the time, it was Cecil Andrus.
Okay.
Yes. And he said I could wait until the kids turned 18, and I said no.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, they've lived a whole life without you, then.
I said, no, next.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you could re-kidnap them, but if it doesn't work, this conversation
never happened.
And I said,
what about the fact that he kidnapped them?
That didn't seem to, that no longer seemed to matter.
Yeah.
And so it's like, re-kidnap them. And what happens if something doesn't work out? And now the kids have a whole distorted picture as to what actually was going on.
Right.
And he brought his attorney in, Jerome Bowen, who I found out felt the bar twice. It's like, oh my goodness, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But anyhow, long story short, the re-kidnapping attempt was tried and did fail. It made it all the way to the bottom of the steps of the State House, and then my mother, and this is a very sad part. I was told the kids have to agree to go. They have to want to stay with you. So
after he kidnapped them from you.
Yes.
Now they've got to agree.
But in order to re-kidnap and get them up to the governor's office to see the attorney and have the state protection come flying in, so to speak, the kids had to agree to stay. I said, okay. So the two youngest wanted to stay. The oldest said, I think I want to stay with Dad. I'm making a lot of friends, and I've got some stuff going on at school.
Right.
Oh no, this is not good.
Yeah.
So I made what was one of the hardest decisions I had to make, and I'm not happy about it, and my oldest son still hurts from it. All the kids do.
Yeah.
And that is, I stopped at a gas station, a little mini mart, and I told my oldest son to go in and get something to drink, knowing fully well he was only a couple blocks from his grandmother's and he could get back to his grandmother's. I left him there. Well, I took the two youngest and rushed up to the State House.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody was crying and upset. And but wait, we forgot. And it's like, I know.
Yeah,
I know. I got to the State House, and my mother, who's now deceased, and she was also working with my ex-husband to keep the children. She comes flying up, and she and my son wrestled the other two kids from me, and of course at that point I went up to the governor's office and had another talk with him.
So are you saying that your mother took the kids away? Or
my mother helped wrestle the kids, the two little ones, back.
So your mother was actually working for your ex-husband?
Oh yes.
I've heard this is incredible to me, because I've heard this. You're not the first person that I've heard say that, where a mother would come in and somehow...
Yeah. Well, there was a little more to it, because my mother and father. My father had his own problems, I guess I'll put it real mildly.
Okay.
In my childhood.
Okay.
And family secrets were known by my ex-husband and were convenient weapons to be used against my family if if he decided to use them.
I hear where you're going with it.
Anyhow, so so anyhow, I went and had a chat with the governor, and he said, you know what, you can tell the court what happened. Yeah. I said, I will tell the court what happened. Yeah. I told you this was going to happen. Right. Or that it could happen. Anyhow, so, and I did. I submitted a subpoena to the governor's office when the next hearing occurred. And the governor's office actually, the judge quashed the subpoenas. Said, no, the governor does not have to show up, and neither does his attorney. And you should have never listened to them. And it's like, they're the governor. Idaho Code 1845-06 is a criminal action. It is second-degree kidnapping. It is custodial interference. And the fact that it was put on the books in 1989 and my children were taken in 1989, you guys had no right to use them as guinea pigs. Yeah. Anyhow, so the judge, I believe at that time it was, oh gosh, there were so many judges. The first one committed suicide, and that was Judge Bailey, Calusa. Second one was Judge, Grant. Then it went to Noggle. Then it went to Neville. Neville was the one that quashed the subpoena against Governor Andrus. But the governor's office called and said she can speak, even though the subpoenas were quashed. And the judge said no. So the judges become their own little king. Yes. Or potentate or whatever. I mean, that's the part that, when these judges can do things like that, and basically whatever the due process is, they can completely override it. Yes. And they, it doesn't make a difference. It's, the judge may wake up happy one morning, sad one morning, angry the next morning. Yep. And there's no sense of justice being done. There's no sense of the law being consistently applied. Yeah. And you become a target almost by the judge as well. Right. And my ex-husband, was he married by that time? I'm not sure. I had remarried, and my husband became a real easy target. He had a wife, ex-wife too, with two boys. And so false allegations were of course levied against him. Yeah. So I went to the police, and because last thing I'm ever going to do is stand up and say, sure, abusers are just fine. It's like, with my history, I'm not going to do that. Right. It's not going to happen. So anyhow, went to the police department and got the official report. Right. And so said, okay, so now that part is done. But later, just because of the things that I had to end up traveling from one city to another, and I couldn't be an effective step parent at all. Yeah. Because I wasn't present. I wasn't there. I had to find my children. Right. And you can't take a heart and rip it and stomp on it and then say, keep pumping. Come on. Yeah. Get up. Go to work. Yeah. Come on. Go take care of this and take care. And isn't it amazing how sometimes when you're going through all of these things and people will say, like, what's wrong with you? Or, just buck up, or else the favorite of all time. It's going to be okay in the end. I know. And you're like, I know. It's kind of like the governor's, advice. Well, you can just wait till they're 18. Yes. I mean. But what? Yeah. Yeah. So anyhow, it was at that point, I believe, that I found my ex in Jackson, California. Okay. And went there, had an interview with the local newspaper. Okay. Jackson, I don't remember what the newspaper was. I have the article in the paper. Okay. Anyhow, and went and seen the psychologist because I knew that was going to be the first thing that, oh, the crazy woman is stalking me again. Yeah. And harassing me. It's funny it's funny how that happens, isn't it? Yes. So I got the paperwork that said maternal within normal limits. Yeah. So anyhow. So bring it up to date here, and I'm just for the sake of time here. So right now,
where are you with all of these things? And
Well, he left after the kids weren't there for bowling.
right,
He moved, and I didn't know it at the time, but he moved to Idaho. Moved
Okay.
in with my parents, and I found that out when I went and back up to Idaho, and oh my goodness, you're living in one of their houses. Oh, okay, all right. So anyhow, long story short, he left there shortly thereafter because I filed for the court. Now we're all in the same state again. Let's
Right.
get this hearing done quick. No, well, he split and went to
yeah,
Ashland, Oregon. So I found him in Brookings first. Found him in Brookings, finally got some hearings going, got visitation orders, got a Christmas order. My now husband and I went to go pick up the kids for our first Christmas in 1995, I believe it was.
I was going to
He
say,
wasn't there.
I already know the story
Yeah, he wasn't there
at this point.
The cops show up. Of course, they look at the order. They say, yeah, it was only signed a couple days ago. Yeah, it looks like a legitimate order. We recognize the judge's signature. It's a very small community. But I'm not a judge.
Yeah.
You'll have to wait until the court opens again. It's like it's
After Christmas.
Yeah, it's Christmas vacation.
Yeah.
The courts aren't open, so. And this was the norm. I mean, I had so many orders at different interim times that were not enforced.
Yeah.
A couple times I went to jail because I told the judges that this was a joke. If there is no accountability and no respect for divorce and family orders, why are we here?
Yeah.
So I went to jail a few times.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so
it's funny how the person who's trying to, you're trying. You have an ex-husband who's kidnapped the kids, and he gets off scot-free, and you're trying to see the children, but you have judges' orders, and whether the judges' orders are right or not, because sometimes I think the judges are just way out of line.
Yeah.
But you have the orders.
Yep.
And you somehow become the criminal.
Yeah. And then he moved out of that city in Oregon and went to Ashland, Oregon, where he now resides, from my understanding, still resides. And the two youngest, I had an order for, visitation to occur. I told the Ashland police, it won't happen. He's no longer in Curry County. He's now in Jackson County, so Jefferson County. So Jefferson is one of the J's.
Yeah.
Too many counties. Yeah. Anyhow, and so it won't happen. I need a standby to make sure that this order is enforced. Those children get on an airplane on their appointed visitation.
Right.
And I'm paying for it, so there should be no argument.
Right.
The oldest son was getting married in 1998. Airplane tickets paid for, Amtrak tickets paid for to go to Tennessee. The night before the kids were supposed to get on the airplane, the youngest, who's now 34 and having the celebration in Japan.
So you finally get to see him anyway.
Yeah, he calls and he says, Dad's not letting us go. And I said, and this is in 1998, and I said, why? He said, Dad says he can't afford it. I said, Timothy,
I paid for the
tickets are paid for. Everything's paid for. All your dad has to do is take you to the airport.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Well, he said, we're not going. I said, let me talk to your dad. He won't talk to you.
Yeah. And
it's like, so they put the kids in the middle, of course, rather than letting the kids be kids.
Yeah. And having one of the things that I heard many times today, and you've heard this as well, and we all know this, you have one parent who is being vindictive, and they're almost afraid that if the kids love both parents, that somehow they're going to lose control or lose out.
Or that the love is lessened.
You're right.
And it's like, no, the heart is, one thing about the heart and love, it's the one thing that can be shared, and it doesn't diminish to anybody.
Exactly.
All it does is become healthier and more secure and that sort of thing. So they missed out on their brother's wedding, which their brother didn't appreciate. I certainly didn't appreciate.
Yes.
And then he finally got to come out for the next summer, I think it was, and did not want to go back. So my youngest. The oldest got into legal trouble and at one point asked the cops to let her come and stay with me, but the father said no. Basically, I'll see her in juvenile hall before I let her go.
Good with you.
So anyhow,
Wow.
the daughter was continued alienated a different direction, and the son finally got to come up, the youngest.
Right.
Of course, the oldest one's now married.
Right.
And so the youngest comes up, and as he's getting ready, as we're getting ready to, look at the week that he's getting ready to leave, he says, "I don't want to go back."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, what do you want to do?" I do have attorneys, friends who are attorneys, who will talk to you if you want to talk to them.
Yeah.
So he did. He spoke with a friend, Chuck Peterson. And one of the first questions he was asked is, "Where are your bruises and bleeding cuts?"
Yeah.
Tim said, "You can't see them. They're on the inside."
Wow. Wow. So.
But it didn't matter. And he filed an affidavit listing the items that he wanted, that he needed the judge to put in an order to let him go back to Ashland to collect his belongings. He said, "I need this because my older brother, when he left, he was told, 'You leave with nothing.'"
Yeah.
So he said, "I would like to have this order." Well, Idaho ignored the order, ignored the plea. Oregon ignored the plea. And of course, then he started getting screaming phone calls from Oregon.
Okay.
Screaming, calling him every traitorous name that that you can think of.
Do you? Okay, you're talking about like 1990s, early 2000s.
This is not 2000 yet.
Not
this
2000.
Is
Has anything changed since then?
Well,
I mean,
first he's an adult, so yes, I have to say.
No, I meant as far as in laws. I've read that Oregon has now started to at least pass some better laws, or is that just?
I can't speak for Oregon. I've
Okay.
been active in Idaho judicial accountability since 2002, 2004, and 2006. I ran
Okay.
for Idaho legislation, state rep,
Okay.
in a couple years. But I honestly haven't kept up with Oregon
Okay.
law because the kids they're no longer kids.
Right.
Other than their wounds are still
there.
there.
And they're with them for a lifetime, unless
Yeah.
something. Yeah, it's such a shame. How much money did you spend to try to? I mean,
To estimate on lawyers?
yes.
Probably less than what some people, but also considering my resources, probably close to $10,000.
Okay.
I was pro se for a
That's-
number of times
Yes.
because I was in different cities and different states, and
Right.
retainment of a lawyer. They all want at least $2,500
$30,000
to $5,000 just for a retainer.
Yeah. And actually, those are cheap. Those are cheap.
Yes.
But I mean, I've heard one man said, somebody from around here, he said, if you're going to fight this, the only way you can do it without going financially bankrupt is to go pro se.
Yeah.
But it's also scary because,
Yep.
it's a learning experience, but I know that there are people now that are going pro se, they're sharing their experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the only way that you can do things.
Well, and I knew nothing about the law other than my divorce decree said that we have joint legal custody, the children live with me, and he had reasonable rights to visitation.
Yeah.
And that's all I really knew, and I trusted those words.
You trusted the words. How many people have said, "I trusted the system.
Yeah.
I trusted the judges. I
Yeah.
trusted the police. I trusted my attorney.
Yeah.
I trusted my ex-husband or ex-wife to do right. I trusted."
Just love our kids.
Yes.
To just love our
Yes.
kids more than they hate the spouse,
Yes.
the ex-spouse.
Yeah, it is a shame.
Yeah.
Is it so? We're looking at about 25 minutes here right now. So, is there anything? Just want to ask you real quickly here. Is there anything you want to wrap up with?
Sure. I finally got my paralegal certification
Congratulations.
after doing the work for the last 25 years.
So that taking the test must have been a breeze.
It really was. The hardest part was the monthly payments,
Yeah.
because they wouldn't send me my certificate
Yeah.
until the payments were made.
Okay.
And so I have it, and so I've just got. I'm collecting my letters of reference at this point. And
your veterans preference?
Pardon?
Your letters of reference.
Letters of reference.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yes. I have the lawyer that I worked for when I found the kids in Brookings. I worked in Crescent City for a law firm.
Okay.
Had no experience, but he was willing to
take you on.
Yeah, he needed a secretary receptionist, and I was certainly willing to learn.
Yes.
And and then I have a letter from a friend who, she and her husband used to have a newspaper, and when I was running initiatives for judicial accountability, they covered it. So she knew I was a researcher and a go-getter.
Yeah.
And I have
well, you have a lot in common with Jody then. I mean, I know when Jody goes up to Iowa, I think that she's greeted by names by half the legislature up there. The Attorney General knows her and other people as well. Yep. And that's exactly what you've got to do. My hat's off to you. I wish that things could have turned out better than what they have.
Well, I am looking forward. I have to wrap this up though, so to speak, and say that next week my husband and I are helping my youngest, who's now 34, to celebrate his marriage and the birth of his and his wife's new baby. So yes. I am so looking forward to that celebration. Yes, the other side will be there too, but you know what? Life's too short, and God needs to deal with the other side. Yeah. I'm there to help celebrate, and my son has already given the explicit instructions to both sides of the family, no drama. Right. So I'm looking forward to it,
well, Rose, thank you so much for talking with us. And thanks for coming down here. It was good to meet you, and wish you all the best and a wonderful trip.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing 2017 as the blockbuster year that parental alienation and whatever the hierarchy, counseling, and mental health system want to call it. Yes. Parental alienation is what we common people know it as. Right. That I'm looking forward to it being recognized as criminal activity. Yes. Child abuse.
Child abuse, absolutely.
And starting to be seen less. Yes. In divorce cases.
Absolutely. We're with you 100%. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.